again, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye, and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I post a new video. Alright, so this week we have a super pretty and fun lunar moth painting inspired by one of the most mystical creatures in all of nature, in my opinion. I have my 4 standard brushes from my brush kit here. So this comes with a square brush, medium-sized pointed brush, and then 2 small detail brushes. Gonna get those brushes in my water cup off the side of the screen. I also have an old toothbrush to do some fun splatter action for today's background step. If you'd like to see a full materials list of everything that I recommend, go ahead and check the description box below. I have 2 colors here for my background step, keeping it simple, just black and white. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in. So our first step here is going to be pretty much as easy as you can get, which is we're just going to fill our whole canvas in with black. Nice and solid. And a little bit of water always helps to paint the paint go nice and smooth and soak into that canvas texture. I'm using a canvas board, but boxed canvases are really nice as well. Boxed canvases might be a little bit more on the professional side. They're also a little bit more on the expensive side, but they both work just fine. And personally, I like the canvas boards because I have so many paintings in my studio. This way they can store flat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this whole canvas in with black. Just to start, we don't need that much paint, pretty good coverage with this black that I'm using today, using my Grumbacher black. If you're curious, I've had a comment before about the white being thinner, and that is because I do use a cheaper quality white paint because you're paying for the pigment when you pay for paint. So I always go with the Grumbacher kits and then a little bit of extra white. And when I'm using white, it's completely fine to use the cheaper craft paints, a little bit more affordable. All right, I'm just kind of evening out my brush strokes. You can go back and forth or side to side. Things got a little messy, and that's part of the fun of it because we're gonna get splattery next. So grab one of your clean brushes now. I'm gonna use my medium-sized one, and we're just going to make a little bit of a batch of watered it down white. Okay, so just adding a little bit of water. Hopefully it's not too gray from your black, but there should be still pretty good coverage power. Okay, and then go ahead and retire that brush and grab your trusty old toothbrush. You don't want it too watery because you do want a little bit of paint pigment, and then you're just gonna splatter this whole background, and I like to do sort of diagonal lines to make it look like the Milky Way, yeah? Okay, very pretty. And I like to have a lot. All right, and we got some good sort of larger stars there as well. But if you want, you can grab one of your smallest brushes and add a few more here and there. If you want, you might have gotten big enough splatters as it is with the trusty toothbrush. So that is going to be up to you. But sometimes that's fun to add as well. All right, that was a fun and easy background. Let's go ahead and let this layer dry, and then we'll come back with a whole lot more. See everyone in a few. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry background and some fresh colors on the piece of palette paper here. So more white, a little bit of my favorite phthalo green, some bright yellow, and a little bit more black. I rinsed my brushes and got fresh water at break as well. Let's go ahead and jump right back into it. So we're gonna do a little bit of kind of like sketch work And I'm gonna use one of my smaller brushes for this. I think I'm gonna use my second to smallest size. And going to mix up my base color for my moth. And I'm just going to mix my beautiful phthalo green with a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow, and I'll get that gorgeous moth color. Okay. Looks pretty good. We'll probably need to blend up a little bit more of that later. And we're going to sketch out our moth shape now with this color. And what I want to do is I want to try to find the exact center, pretty much, of my canvas. And I'm going to do a little curved line to start, and that's going to be the head of my little moth body. And I'm going to bring it down into a sort of triangular shape for it to meet, like so. And that's going to be the center part there of our moth, and we can kind of adjust as need be. And then we're going to do the wings from there. So I'm going to do a curved line. I'm going to come out pretty far. About there. Okay. Going to be keeping the outermost sketch line here, so a little bit of that extra kind of sketch down there is just fine. And then I want to have the same level here and about the same width. Okay, that looks pretty good. The most important part of this painting is having your wings match. If you wanted to be really technical, you could even bring out a ruler, but I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna wing it. Haha, wing it. Oh man, that's a good timing with this painting. Okay, and then I'm going to come down like so on either side. Curved brush stroke, trying to kind of match each other. A little bit further down, and then we're gonna come up towards the center. Just like so. And again, we want to try to get those to match. So I'm just gonna adjust the shape a little bit, probably about there. Okay. All right, it looks pretty good. And then the bottom wing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come from a few like centimeters in, a couple, just a little bit in here, millimeters even. We're gonna come up towards the center there, and then kind of wiggle our way down like so. The end of the little tail will come up to meet the body of the moth again, about like so. We will adjust this as we fill in a minute. Now we want to try to copy that shape, so we came in a little bit here. And we went up and around and down, a little bit of a wiggle. Okay. And then again, just adjusting as needed. And then the bottom will sort of point towards each other, like so. That's a pretty good shape there. Got it pretty good. All right, now we're gonna fill those shapes in with that same color. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a little bit more of it, so I know I'm gonna need it. A little bit of yellow. All right, that looks pretty good. Beautiful, vibrant color here. we're just going to fill those wing shapes in. Go ahead and leave the body of your moth alone for now. It's going to be filled in with white in just a minute. Okay, so just the wings. And you're just filling them in and keeping all of your brush strokes going the direction of the wing. So in this case, we're doing sort of back and forth brush strokes, a little bit curved. I'm gonna keep that texture nice and smooth. Okay, just eyeballing here if they end at the same level. Okay, nice little pointed edge there. Nice. Okay. And you can fill them in whatever order you need to or want to. I want to do the top two first and get those as close as I can to match. Okay, and I can already see that this one is a little bit longer. Just kind of adjusting as needed. And so I'm, of course, painting with just this angle, but you can move your canvas all around. And sometimes that's helpful to see if something needs to be more balanced. So when I first painted this, I liked it, but it wasn't quite right. And so I had it up in my studio for a day or two. And then I realized, I was like, oh, that wing right there needs to be balanced. And I was looking at it from a sideways angle. So I recommend doing that. I'm trying to get it nice and even, but I'm not going to do that today for the sake of staying one camera angle here for the process. Okay, nice smooth wing. And then we're going to kind of lose this line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill it in real quick, and then I'm gonna grab some white. And I'm gonna go right along that line as a little highlight, and so that I don't lose it. Kind of softening it a little bit there. Very nice. Okay, and then just our last little wing segment here. Make sure you get plenty of paint on there for some nice coverage. Take your time with this and feel free to use your very small brush for some of these smaller areas. If you'd like, it'll give you a little bit more control. I learned that lunar moths have these long tails so that when they fly at night and they flutter around, it messes with the echolocation of bats so that the bats can't eat them. Pretty cool, if you ask me. And then, of course, the lunar moth gets its name too from, of course, it's nocturnal, but it has those moon shapes that look like eyes, scary eyes to predators. Okay, and then I'm just gonna bring my white in here again so that I can see the differentiation there. All right, it's looking good. If the center is dry enough, you can go ahead and grab some white and add it in there as well. You want to bring that out to the sketch line here, but at the top you want to get that covered with white as well. It depends on if your green is dry enough. It's 1,000,000 degrees here, so it's dry enough. right. Our main shape here looking pretty good. And once we get this filled in, we should have our whole moth filled in with our first coat of paint. Okay, looks great. Now let's go ahead and leave that moth shape alone now for a moment. We're gonna do our moons, and then we'll see if we need to let this dry for a second before moving on. I was anticipating that we would. So let's go ahead and just jump right in though and do our moons. We usually can do these pretty quick. So we're gonna do our main full moon right in the center above our moth. And we wanna leave some space because we're gonna have little antenna. And I just start with a white circle, and then I'm gonna rinse the paint off of my brush, and I'm going to kind of scribble a little bit of white into the center of the moon there. And I should get some nice color variation, but if I need to, I can also grab a little bit of black again, and just on one side there, add a little bit of what's gonna end up as gray for some craters. Okay, our beautiful moon. Pummeled constantly by space debris. All right, that looks pretty good. You kind of just scribble around a little bit and make it look slightly circular by just having the shadows on that one side. And now I'm gonna do the same idea on either side of my moon, but I want to only just do a half circle. Of course, representing our lunar cycles here. Important. All right, and we're gonna make these like fat crescents. About like so. And same idea here, so just a little bit of scribble in there. Trying to make them match as much as possible. This one's a tricky painting because you gotta get the symmetry. And if you are more mathematically inclined than I am, again, feel free to use a ruler. But I have no time for rulers. But I'm also not in a rush. I just like to wing it. All right, a little bit of gray in there. Helping to kind of soften the original lines of the shape there. All right, it's looking pretty good. Okay, a little bit of black. Gentle pressure on the brush. A little bit of texture, and if you got a little bit too fat like I did over here, you can bring the shadow in a little bit further, but if you do that too much, you'll notice, because it won't have stars. So a little tiny adjustment is okay though. Just like so. And then we're gonna do little thin crescents as well. And ever so slightly curved if you really want to get fancy. So we're having a slight curve here. If that's too hard, a straight line looks good too. Okay, and then just little crescent moons. And we don't need to worry quite as much about adding texture. A little bit. But we just have a smaller space that we're working in. It's a little easier. All right, and the final one over here. Just like so. Okay, and just trying to even it out as well. Get them as matchy-matchy as possible. little bit of shadow with the gray, just working with gray and white. Okay, a little bit. I like this skinny moon, but he doesn't match the other side. It's a little bit fatter. And maybe that guy's a little skinnier. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead now and let this layer dry. And we're gonna come back and add our final touches onto our moth once that is completely dry. So I'll see everyone in another couple minutes. Okay, we're back with the final step. I have the same colors in my palette paper. I added a little bit of purple. We're gonna do our final steps here on our lovely lunar moth. I'm going to use, I think, still my second to smallest brush. Feel free to use your smallest if that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. We're gonna do a little bit of extra decoration on our lovely lunar moth. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of a darker green. Really simple, just adding some more green to that little bit of light green that I still had there. If you were light green dried completely, you can add a little bit of white if you need to as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and start right about there and just work my way up the wing of the moth here. Gently curving it a little bit, like so. Very tiny brush strokes, very light pressure. And then also here in the bottom wing, I'm gonna pick it up just a tiny bit higher, and I'm going to start walking it all the way over to about there. Little tiny brush strokes. You can go over it a couple times to make it look not quite so stripy. And a little bit of texture, just like so. Okay, looks great. Let's try to repeat on the other side. So we want to start at about the same distance in. We're just doing a little bit of a curve. I went from the top down with this one. Whatever way feels better. All right, just a little bit of a curve there. Nice. Very light brush stroke pressure. Okay, kind of just going with the shape of the wing. Like so. And then we'll take that little green shadow all the way down here, like so, for a little bit of shadow in those beautiful tail wings. Okay, just quick touch up there. Okay, looking good. Gonna rinse my brush now. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of white now. Kind of jumping around. I'm gonna go right over that white that I had from before, just kind of cleaning everything up. And then I'll bring that white all the way along the outside edge, like so. I'm gonna do the same thing here at the bottom. Very pretty. And a little bit down the tail as well. Little highlights. Look at that, looking really nice. Okay, same thing on the other side. Keeping everything symmetrical. Very dainty brush stroke pressure here. Nice. just along the outside edge of our bottom wing segment and down the tail as well. Nice. Okay. Lovely. All right, now we're going into an even smaller space now, so I think I'll go ahead and grab my very smallest brush. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of gray, just the tiniest bit. Making sure not to bring a drip with me. And I'm going to outline the body of the moth on the inside there. Kind of clean up around that, add a nice little dainty shadow. Okay. And then 2 little stripes for this guy here as well. Look at that, looking very nice. Okay. All right, and then moving right along, same brush, just rinsed it, and I'm gonna add a little bit of white coming from the center here and pushing out into this wing a little bit, like so. Nice little highlight. And I went over my gray shadow a little bit, so I think I'll grab a little bit more on there and just make sure that looks nice and tidy. There we go. That's the look we're going for here. Same idea on the other side. A little bit of water can help that kind of trail off nicely. And you can always add some more of the wing green color if you need to. You went a little overboard. Okay, nice, and same idea here. A little bit of cleanup with the gray. That line was a little thicker than I wanted, so grab a little bit of white. It's kind of a play back and forth. There we go. Okay. Looking good. Just a few more little steps. Let's see, I think I'm gonna switch back to my second to smallest brush for a couple more things. I'll write this guy, and then let's do our dark purple. So I'm gonna grab some purple. I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of black. Not too much, or it'll be just too dark. And then I'm gonna sneak in a little bit of white as well. And I'm going to take this purple right on top of the top wing. And we'll just do a purple line all the way across the top wing. Like so. And it'll be pretty dark, so I'm gonna grab a little bit of white and throw that right on top for a little wet on wet blending there. And that again will be sort of a play, so you can add some more purple back to it if you need to. That is the effect that we're going for. Just a nice, even, solid line. Lots of brush control in today's painting. Definitely good practice. Just going over a few times like so, and then I'm gonna take that purple right over the top part of my moth head as well. A little bit of white just like the other side to help us blend. A little bit of wet on wet blending action here. Okay, and it should blend to a light purple. Okay, a little highlight there as well. I'm gonna have just a little bit of white on top too of the little head. Like so, and then that's where we're gonna attach the antenna in just a second. But let's go and jump back real quick into the moth body. We'll do a highlight or sort of a accent color with a very pretty light yellow. So my second to smallest brush, but either one is fine. And I'm gonna go right on the outside here of that white that I just added and add another line of color very similar to your dark green that you added just a little bit ago. Okay, just like so, and then same idea on the other side. Trying to make everything as even as possible. I think this moth turned out very pretty. Super cute. Okay, great. And then definitely the smallest little brush for our final little details here. I'm gonna take a lighter yellow, so a little bit more white so that it's nice and opaque. And I'm gonna do the little eye/moon spots. So just a circle with yellow for now right there. We'll add the purple in just a minute. And then down in the bottom one as well. You want to try to match the shapes, about the same size, and placed in the same area on either side. Always a mirror image. Okay, look at how pretty. Making sure you get enough paint on there so that it's not see-through. Okay, let's leave that alone for just a second. And now an even lighter yellow for the antenna. And these antennae are really cool. They sort of look like little ferns. So you'll do one little line like so on either side, very small line. Oops, got a little drip. Gonna pull that paint up real quick. That's what always happens when I work with the teeny tiny brushes. Okay. Try that again. A little bit of light yellow. Just like so. Okay, super cute. And then little tiny brush strokes on either side. Very tiny. As tiny as you can make them. Making sure that it's not too wet here, so where it's gonna make my paint bleed. No, that looks fine. Okay. Final little detail. So cute. Okay, looks great. And then of course our piece de resistance, we'll do our lovely little Luna marks here with our dark purple. I'm gonna go on the left hand side here of these yellow areas, and I'm just gonna fill that in with a dark purple like a little crescent moon. Okay, just like so. I think he turned out really cute. If you painted along today, I have a Facebook group where you can share your work. called the Art Club. There is a link to join that below in the description box, and I also pin the Art Club link and the materials link in the comments below too, in case you can't navigate to the description box. Took me a while to figure out how to do that with an iPhone, so I get it. All right, last little area here, mirror image. So it's gonna be on the right of these ones, slight angle. All those little details are what makes it look good in the end. All right. And that is all the instruction that we have for today's painting. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see you over in the art club, so please join us there and share your art. And that's all I have for everyone this week. So until next time, stay creative.